Hi people, and hi Chilli Con Carnage Crew, it's Chilli here, and I'm bringing you this 5-minute review episode on the White Lies' latest album, as I try not to fall apart. And first of all, we have to go into the band's history. White Lies are an English band formed in 2007 by lead vocalist and guitarist Harry McVeigh, backing vocalist and bass player Charles Cave, and drummer Jack Lawrence Brown, and this has been the band's consistent lineup. They have released 6 albums in total, including this one which I am going to review, so let's get into this. Now, White Lies seems to be a band for the nostalgia factory in my generation, or so I seem to think anyway. When I posted up a comment about their first album, To Lose My Life, I had a few comments messaging me back saying I loved this album back in the day, and I was a bit surprised. I didn't think too many people actually knew of this band. The White Lies music is a blend of pessimistic and poignant stories in a post-punk and alternative rock soundscape. For me, their first album seemed very dark and edgy, and seemed to be stylistically in line with bands like AFI at the time, except without the theatrics, big hair, and black fingernail polish. Their stories were also much edgier than the aforementioned styles, in particular on the song The Price of Love, which tells the story of someone who wins big on a game show and then has his girlfriend kidnapped in exchange for the money. That song to me was a dark arena rock opera piece, and it showed some real potential for this band. Unfortunately, they seemed to drop off my radar for a few years. I would return to them from time to time, but never really got into their newer stuff, thinking it was one of those fleeting moments that maybe they could never really recapture that style from their first album. Not too dissimilar in story from the Silver Sun pickups, I guess. Luckily, I started this series because I wanted to force myself out of that bubble, and many times I would hear music I previously would have never listened to, and found many bands that I have enjoyed. So, is my path of musical evolution on the same parallel as many other bands like White Lies? Well, that's the thing, music is subjective, and what I like you may not, and vice versa. But I digress. This subject is different to the review and isn't about the album. So, to start with, let's look at the cynical and yet thought-provoking simply titled opener, Am I Really Going to Die? Going deep to start with, but yet the opener has this groovy bass line and a solid drum pattern to follow with some deep lyrics dealing with one's mortality in true White Lies fashion. It's a great opener to the album despite the nagging feeling of a stylistic change in music to prior albums, and this does not change throughout their other songs on this album. As I Try Not to Fall Apart is the next track, and is their most poppier sound I have heard from them. The song has a lot of synth throughout and lyrics that deal with trying not to fall apart when one feels like they need to. It seems great to deal with these issues, especially after what has happened to us. And although this song was probably not written about COVID, it can be relatable to a post-lockout world. Not a bad track. Breathe follows up and has yet another groovy bass line with some big guitar riffs. It really drives this song along and sets the tempo for the tune of this song. It almost gives me Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer vibes from this bass line. A very airy song at times, but grounded elsewhere. I Don't Want to Go to Mars is next, and I don't think I've ever heard White Lies speak about sci-fi space travels. At least they kept it morbid with a few lyrics to add their flair to this song. The song musically is a classic piece, like their tunes of old, and has a huge anthematic feel to it. This is a great song from this album. I can feel the disconnect. Step Outside is the following track and has some more space-like sounds in the opening, and the song gives it another Space Oddity kind of vibe despite not having any similar lyrics. In fact, the lyrics are vastly open to interpretation, which suits the style of music on this track. Anyway, it's an okay track, but not my favourite. Roll December has a big opener for the second half of the album, and I feel a mid-album lull hitting me with this track. It's not particularly memorable, and is a slow burner to me. Ragworm is next, and is another quirky track. I don't quite know what to say about this track, really. It seems like a retelling of a childhood by the band with oddly specific lyrics at times, and musically it has sections that drift off before coming back. It's a peculiar track, and for me, the jury is still out. Blue Drift opens with a guitar riff that sounds like it was lifted from a Jazzercise video. Am I watching a Denise Austin workout video or listening to the White Lies? Ignoring this, it's an otherwise pretty good track with its new age rock sound on it. The end follows, and can probably be described as a space rock opera piece with its slow-paced tune and long drawn-out synth sections. Despite its name, it is not the end of the album, and leads into the last track. There Is No Cure For It is the last track, and could be taken as a follow-up to the opening of the album. The song shows White Lies doing their great storytelling again, with what you would expect to happen here taking a twist in an unusual way, a macabre way to close out the album, as the 80s synth pop plays against the song before building up to the guitar riffs. Please be sure to support a small channel like us by liking this video and following us for more music related content. We release content weekly. The White Lies have evolved to incorporate some more funkier and upbeat sounds in their release on As I Try Not To Fall Apart, which is both a stark comparison to their usually death-obsessed lyrics. I must say at first I was a bit disappointed as I was drawn into their earlier post-punk sound, but over time I've grown to enjoy this album a bit more than I thought. There are some tracks that seem to be either filler or just don't fit, but I guess 10 songs about mentally falling apart and dying would be too much to hear about. After all, I listen to music to escape from my life, not to be reminded of it. Jokes aside, the band have shown their usual flair for the songwriting and a stylistic change, and maybe my baby steps into the new music allowed me to listen to them without brushing it off. The album seems to also follow a quasi-concept status. It happens in a few tracks, and particularly the first and last tracks, and maybe, open to interpretation, a few other tracks throughout the album. If you're a basic fan like me, coming off the first album, then you'll find this is vastly different. But it's a decent change in style that won't alienate too many, I think. Another quick one, in case you were wondering about the artwork on the album, the flags represent letters of the alphabet and can be translated to the name of the album reading down. The same can be said about the singles, just a random piece of information for you. I'm sure someone smarter than me might know where these flags are from, because at first I thought these were naval flags, but this doesn't appear to be the case. If you know, please comment below or let me know on Twitter, but maybe it's a custom design. Overall, I think the album deserves 750,000 chilies on the spicy scale, with a few tracks dragging their feet and the rest of the album just standing out. The standout tracks that really stood out for me are Am I Really Going To Die, As I Try Not To Fall Apart, and I Don't Want To Go To Mars. Thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please consider liking it and sharing it with your friends. And also don't forget to subscribe to our Chilli Con Carnage Crew to stay updated on our newest videos. We're also on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Live Listen Erased. Please join us on those media platforms for all kinds of updates and discussions regarding music. And as always, stay spicy.